Hi, everybody. Welcome back to Young Entrepreneurs of the World here, our 2023 conference. Lots of aspiring young entrepreneurs watching and learning, and we've been joined throughout the conference by a number of business leaders and advisors, entrepreneurs themselves, providing some great advice. We're next joined by Jason McCann. He is the co-founder and CEO of VARI, and our conversation today is going to be disrupting the status quo. Jason, good morning. Where are you joining us from today?
Our headquarters is in Coppell, Texas, so right in the heart of Dallas-Fort Worth, so about 10 minutes from the DFW airport.
DFW airport. Okay. I was last there, I bet you, right before the pandemic. The Oil Man's Club is someplace on like the 60th floor of like the Chase Tower or something downtown. It was pretty nice. Awesome. Pretty nice. Good to see you. Thanks for joining us. Now you've got your VARI hat on today. Now, originally you guys started out as VARIDESK, correct?
Correct. Yeah, it was
tell us a little bit about how you got started that way.
Yeah, so my business partner Dan had founded another company called Gemmy Industries, and I was actually president of his company, almost operating like an entrepreneur inside of it, leading his organization. And he was standing at a cardboard box one day when I walked into his office. And just like friends do and business partners, I kind of razzed him and said, "What's going on?" He said, "Oh, I've got back pain and I stand up, I feel better." And so I talked to my doctor and she said, "Well, then you need to stand up more." And so this is 10 years ago in 2012. And so we looked online. He was trying to find a standing desk. And just like everybody was out there looking for one 10 years ago and couldn't find one. They were either expensive, too difficult to assemble, or took 6 to 8 weeks to deliver. And Dan is good at product. And he said, "I've got an idea. What if we could create something that would slide out of a box, go on top of the desk?" So I grabbed our industrial designer, and over a 3-hour period, as Dan talked and described what became that original VARIDESK product. And so that was great for us to sort of build this prototype and start to use it inside our walls and allow our team members to use it. And some of our employees were like, "Oh, this is good, but just like everything, you got to go show it to some people." So we said, who in town has a lot of employees? And Verizon had some giant call centers here, and they were kind enough to let us come in and show it. And so we walked in with a Wall Street Journal article that said, "Sitting is the new smoking," from the Mayo Clinic, from Dr. Levine. We showed this article, walked in with our prototype, and stood it up on his desk. And he said, "I have no idea what you're talking about." But his ergonomist came in, his head of HR came in, and the head of HR said, "Back pain is the #1 reason people miss work." And so we were off to the races there, not knowing anything, literally monetizing pain, building this disruptive product that we launched into the marketplace.
Now, how that from that initial prototype, how much has it changed over the course of time?
Yeah, so for us, getting feedback from people, so as we showed it to different people and customers and we started to sell it online, what we learned is that there was feedback that you're able to get, especially for us in today's generation of entrepreneurs. All of y'all have an opportunity to have that direct relationship. So we've tweaked the product well over 20 times, from the way the packaging is designed, because we ship it via FedEx or UPS, and that's much different than just on a container coming over from Asia. So we had to learn how the product would be shipped out. The other thing we had to learn was, how do we sell it? And so as we started to sell this product, we recognized that the furniture industry is set up almost like a manufacturer and a dealer model. So just like you buy a Ford car or a Chevy, they have to be bought at a specific dealer. And I didn't know anything about the office furniture business, but I do know a little bit about cultures and people. And so we said, well, why not do what Tesla's doing? This is 2013. Why not do what Tesla's doing? And we can actually sell direct to our fan base and do something a little different there. And so we turned on this website for $99, a 3D cart website, set up our QuickBooks to track everything. And we were off and running to sell. And then by listening to the customers, you're able to tweak those products and get them right.
Well, yeah, feedback is always so critical for any product or any entrepreneur. So it's pretty interesting. So the disruption was from really a cardboard box, huh?
Yeah, so you start with that product disruption, and we start to transform something that resonates with people. And then we start to recognize it's almost a business model transformation. So we're saying, look at other great organizations out there. And we always talk about great organizations, whether it's Virgin for branding or Apple, the way that Steve Jobs disrupted product and simplified things, the way that Jim Sinegal at Costco built a very SKU limited offering. But for us, watching what Tesla was doing and saying we could sell direct, ultimately then was a catalyst for building not only a disruptive product, but a disruptive business model. You're right.
Absolutely. Now you guys are in 18 cities, if I'm not mistaken, right?
Yeah. So what we started to recognize is our product line started to expand. So we had this direct relation. Customers came in and said, do you have anti-fatigue mats and monitor arms? And so we didn't. And so just like everybody, you listen to the customer, we started to expand our offering. We started to expand into full electric desks and walls that move and soft seating and other furniture. And so in 2018, 2019, we were still called VARIDESK, and we debated, are we going to build a brand that can live beyond our lifetime, or are we just going to be VARIDESK forever? So we worked with the same company, Landor, that helped take Federal Express to FedEx. And when they did research, they said people that bought VARIDESK would absolutely consider y'all Vari. And so I went online on Whois and register.com for 2 years and emailed the person that owned Vari.com. And one day this email came over and said, I'll sell it to you for $68,000. So we bought it. Landor's research was there. We went through the rebrand, and what we recognize is that people want to buy from people. It's about building relationships. So we said we're going to expand into the smile of the country here and open up showrooms. And all that surged in. We hired salespeople. We created design centers all throughout these great cities in Raleigh and Tampa and San Diego and Austin and Houston and DC and Baltimore. And so we're going to interact, and we went for it. We did huge ads, spent millions of dollars, and we said we're going to go for it and create an office, because we do space planning, installation, all those things, and disrupt this entire industry. And we went for it. And then COVID hit, and kind of the world stopped and threw us another curveball.
Oh, for sure. I mean, well, we're coming up now. I was talking about it yesterday. It's the third anniversary now of when the world changed forever, right? And and it really did almost turn on a dime, didn't it? When you think about the whole concept of the office, and then all of a sudden remote work, and maybe, actually nobody was in for a while. I remember some of the television pictures of like the cities, and they were basically ghost cities for sure. How about from a cultural standpoint? And I love the smile analogy. As you guys were expanding, how adaptable was the culture and the people that you were adding and the locations you were adding? I mean, how much of an embrace did you have to do to get everybody to say, hey, this is what we're all about?
Yeah, I think, as you think about it as an entrepreneur in the very early days, you are the culture. So you're recruiting the people, everybody that works for you, about their family, their kids, you're able to identify their strengths and weaknesses. What we had happened is we were doing, we were lucky enough to do $1 million in sales, $10 million, $100+ million in sales, be the fastest growing company in DFW. And we're now shipping products. We've got products in 120 different countries. And basically, I'm a few years in, and I'm almost going to come off the rails. I've got 120+ employees. I don't quite know everybody. We've got people all over. What happens is at those moments is where you've got to really articulate and clearly define your core values. And I happened to meet my president, Jeff Lamb, who was the chief people officer at Southwest Airlines. And years ago, the first time on a tour, I said, how did Southwest maintain their culture? And he said, it's built upon the foundation of their core values. And as you hire people and they add to the DNA and culture of your organization, but you celebrate, and everything is built on those core values. So when the next generation of leaders is out there interviewing, they're only looking for people that embrace those core values. And so we went through a process, identified those core values. 6 core values came to the top, and that became the DNA of who we are. And so as we've added, we now have 350 employees. So as you add decentralized markets, you're not only celebrating the history of where your disruptive journey and this innovation, this culture has been, this business model, but those people are now adding to the DNA and allows you to scale the business. So that's been a key part of us navigating change. So in those early days, it's all you as the entrepreneur, but as you scale the business, you got to scale that out.
Well, it's interesting because you've got your foundation, right? And as advertised, here you guys are, and the people come in, and sometimes there's a match, sometimes there's not, but it's great that as you adding your people, they're bringing their elements of the DNA in as well. And then you're getting a chance to expand and further, have yours be even more robust, which is pretty exciting from a journey standpoint for sure. Now tell me about some of the COVID challenges. I mean, that certainly as a starting out again, furniture company, and okay, where are all the people, right? Where are the
Yeah,
office?
it was definitely a test. I describe it as, so literally the rebrand happens 3 years ago last week, and then COVID hits and the world stopped. And for us, it was shocking to my system. So as an entrepreneur, like all of y'all, I didn't know what was going to happen. And so I was up night after night, 2 a.m. I'm stressing out. And my wife said, well, if you're stressed out, I can only imagine what your team's going through. And it dawned on me, I'm very introverted. And at that moment, that crisis created a moment of clarity for me. And I had to over communicate that we were going to navigate through this and figure this thing out together, that we would not only survive whatever these challenges were that were hitting us, that Ryan Holiday obstacle is the way. We started to lean into the pain and think about what could we do to not only survive, but ultimately thrive. So the values then were battle tested. So I reached out to our teams in Asia, and they were about 12 weeks ahead of us on the COVID curve. And I said, what are y'all doing? And they talked about distance-based design, masks, thermal scanners, all the things that are common today. And so we literally, on March 13th, when we had to send everybody home, we were considered an essential business. Thank God. We were based here in Texas, so we were able to operate. And so we were shipping out all of a sudden so many .com orders on our e-commerce website. So our office furniture business almost stopped. Work from home went crazy because everybody's sitting at home on a sofa crunched over a laptop. So for us, we were shipping. Then I redesigned the headquarters with our walls that moved. We spread everybody out. We have power drops from the ceiling. And we started sharing it on LinkedIn. And we started talking about what are we doing? And we ended up transforming over 1,000 offices across the country that were primarily essential business because they were trying to figure out how do we navigate the future of work. We bought 3 office buildings that we transformed into living, breathing ideation labs and showrooms because we wanted to figure out how could we crack the future of work. And what we recognize is a few things. One, people do want to get together. There's this thing, if you stare at a screen all day, you almost become a very transactional part of a process. And whether it's Chat GPT or Bard or one of y'all inventing the next technology, those roles are going to kind of go away. It's the relationship roles that also have a business transaction that we recognize are very important. So whether it's universities or workspaces, we've got to create these collision points that bring people together because that's how we're designed to interact. And so we started to share those stories and we started to provide design services. And how do you navigate the future? Instead of all focus places and a bunch of desks lined up in a row, what if we create more collaboration spaces? And we started to share this with clients, and we started going and installing these all across safely with masks during the height of it. And ultimately, it's allowed our business and brand to navigate these challenges. And our e-commerce business has shot up. We do work from home programs for clients that can't quite figure out, are they going to have 3 or 4 days a week in the office? So I look at it like a brand like Vari and great brands like the ones y'all are building get to emerge in times of challenge. And so this is a great opportunity to build disruptive businesses and lean into the pain out there and ultimately monetize it and transform it into something very, very impactful.
Yeah, it's interesting. Well, innovation labs are always exciting for sure because you get a chance to experiment and you get a chance to show them off. But interesting with the whole concept of at home. When you think about it, almost everybody's house became a customer, right? Everybody's upper room or attic or wherever they were held up basement, right? In an effort to kind of say, okay, how do I make my space more compatible? And okay, if I can't go out or if I can't walk other than to the end of my driveway, what am I doing? I always liked the whole concept of stand-up desks. I think in workplaces, I just think that's a fantastic way. It kind of makes me feel like I'm in a recording studio and I'm kind of like doing like the radio and all of that. But I think that's outstanding from a feedback standpoint. Even thinking about the remote aspect again, how much feedback did you get from the people at home saying, hey, here's what I need. How do help me shape this? Or I see what you gave me, but could you do this? And
yeah,
what,
so yeah, but you think about listening to, if you're a marketing person, you're like, oh my God, my TAM, my total addressable market just doubled, right? And so suddenly people are going to need the same tools and technology wherever they're working, whether it's at home, whether it's in a co-working space or somewhere where they want to get out, or they're in a traditional office, or really the office of the future. So suddenly, as you think about change and flexibility for entrepreneurs, you're like, oh my goodness, the total addressable market just expanded. And to your point, as you have a direct relationship with your fan base, so if you're able to build a business model that is direct, you're able to get emails, calls, interactions, look at the way they're designing spaces, what's working, what's not, and openly acting, and asking for feedback. And so to take that and always remain in growth mindset, I think is very, very important. It's challenging because, sometimes you show stuff and they're like, oh, your kid's ugly, and they don't want to tell you. They just don't like it. Whatever, you're an artist, you're an entrepreneur, you're showing your heart to the world, and it's not always perfect. But by listening, getting that feedback and filtering it, you can ultimately create better products and services. That's how we got into space planning and design. That's how we got into installation. That's how we've gotten into all these work from home tools, because we're listening to them. In the early days, I got to read every single email that came in from customers. Today, we get over 10,000 calls, emails, chats a month. So they aggregate the data. I read all the scores, and the team starts to highlight. But I dig in. I'll sit with the team and listen to what customers are saying. And you get that raw feedback, whether you're the CEO or the frontline employees, and you're listening to that feedback and you share it. And ultimately, you've got to make that discernment. You've got to make that decision that says, I can take that idea and combine it with this. And I'm thinking about this, and you're creating the future to solve challenges that you don't even know exist yet, but just by gathering all those pain points. And I think Apple has done a great job of that as they think about product. And so you do that also in workspace design. And so for us, we're trying to help crack that code and really think about those things. People are working at home and they use the term resimercial now, because you want almost a residential feel in your workspace. You want some soft seating. That allowed us to expand into those categories because I'm entering back into the office. And so all those things are happening as we continue to navigate the future.
I've never heard that before. I'll give you full credit. Resimercio. I like that. I like that.
Somebody else said it before me. So
all
yeah,
right,
we'll give ThinkLab the credit for it.
All right, we'll do some APA footnoting later. We'll make sure it's okay. What a navigational journey it's been, huh? Between where you were pivoting to vary from VARIDESK, having the world completely change, and then continuing to work through it. What do you think you talk about the future of work, where we're at today? Do you think this is kind of what it's going to look like? How do you think it might continue to evolve?
Yeah, I think the world is going to continue. These pendulums are going to swing. And so you think about today, just if you pick on the US, well over half the jobs out there are they don't have the opportunity to work remote, right? I mean, they're delivering, they're operating, they're running businesses, the hospitality, all those things are driven by people interacting. The other thing is I think polarization starts to happen when people are very, very isolated. If you stare at your screen all day and think that the news you turn on is feeding you exactly what you want to hear, you don't recognize it as humans when we're together and we start to talk, and you meet people that make more money than you, speak another language, are more diverse, have different backgrounds. Suddenly you recognize that we have a lot more in common with each other when we're together. And so I think for us to continue to find ways to create those spaces, and I think universities are trying to crack the code. So there's times when you say, hey, online is important and these things can be learning, but the idea of working on teams, the idea of being together, the idea of working with a global workforce, all those things, but also how do we get together? And so finding that pulse that can continue to happen. So I think that's going to continue to challenge. I think, you look at Europe and Asia where they're higher return to office already because they don't have as large of homes. Not everybody has a giant home with a bedroom upstairs that they can transform into an office or workspace. So again, trying to collaborate with these global entities on what is the future. So I think it's going to be a hybrid. I think that it will continue to ebb and flow and change, which is good. I think that's just part of raising the bar, allowing teams. But again, it goes back to people are designed to be with people. If you're in sales or business people, they want to do business with people. They're not just doing business with your company. As entrepreneurs, they're doing business with you. You're leading your team through the battlefield, and you're probably on the front line swinging the battle axe with them because you're in the trenches trying to learn and grow your business. So I think entrepreneurs and great organizations are going to continue to do that. You're going to see more and more decentralized offices. Co-working and flex is going to continue to grow as businesses navigate it. I'm hoping there's a resurgence in entrepreneurship that happens all throughout the world. I think this is just a great opportunity. But again, it's about serving others. And so getting back to that, it's not just about making money, but it's about creating impactful businesses that make a difference. For us, one of the highlights has been over the last 3 years, we've donated over $6 million worth of furniture to nonprofit organizations. We might get a little scratch and dent or return desk here and there, some new stuff too. We mix it in to these great businesses that can take that budget and say, hey, instead of buying furniture, we can get it from Very and take that and turn that into wishes for kids for Make-A-Wish, or turn that into something for the, for the food banks. And so they can make an impact out there. So I think all of us as entrepreneurs are trying to crack that code in your cultures and businesses between how you work, how you give, how you serve, and the impact that you're ultimately going to make.
That's wonderful. Yeah, I do a lot of work in the area of not-for-profit, and you're always, every dollar you hope can go to mission. So any help along the way, as you guys are doing, is fantastic. You mentioned earlier, and I'm a big believer in this too, the whole concept of collision, right? As an office, as an entrepreneur, as a business, that's where the collaboration comes from, right? And finding ways to do that, and then everybody has a chance to grow just through those kind of chance encounters, and trying to make it as flexible as you can. How about for again, our audience here, for looking at aspiring entrepreneurs and things? You guys are an amazing example of how to do it. From somebody just starting out, any tips for them?
Yeah, so I kind of would boil it down to just a few things. But one, those human interactions, Dan and I would have not created the VARIDESK if we hadn't physically been interacting that day and standing around his desk. And disruption happens when there are those collision points. So continue to look for pain points that are out there that you see. And if your passions happen to collide with them and you're excited about it, and you keep waking up every night trying to solve this challenge, disruptive businesses can be built right there at that particular collision point. And that's a great opportunity for you to think about doing that. As you're building disruptive businesses, you want to also think about, you got this disruptive product or service. What's that business model? Can you also build a business model that's disruptive? Are you going to sell direct? Today's marketplace, you have an opportunity very cost effectively globally to reach directly to your audience. So can you build a disruptive business model out there? And you've watched the way Amazon has come in over the last 20 years and transformed an entire industry. Can you build the next thing? But it starts right there by building that, addressing that pain point. And then ultimately, you've got to prepare yourself, your team, your culture, your customers for the disruptions that are going to hit you. I didn't plan on COVID. I thought I had it all figured out. And that's kind of when God throws you a curveball. And so all those things are going to continue to happen. So disruption is going to happen to you. So make sure that your culture, your team, your business model are flexible enough, strong enough to withstand that, financially strong enough. So watching your pennies, making those small bets as you build your business. But that's how I would think about disruption. So building disruptive ideas and disrupting yourself through constantly learning, building those disruptive businesses, and then preparing for the disruptions that are naturally going to hit you.
Critical, just critical. Having the flexibility as an organization, as a culture, and watching for the next, as you said, curveball that may come your way is so critical. So what's next for Vari? What's coming up? What do you guys, as you continue to innovate, what do you think comes next?
Yeah, so I think, you have to always have a mindset of innovate or die. And so we've obviously, somebody in the Q&A asked all about the knockoffs and everything. Yeah, we probably settled 35 plus or won 35 plus lawsuits across the globe here on all those things. It's going to happen to you when you're and so I think for you, we've got to continue to innovate. And so by listening to the customers, recognizing that return to office, that everybody's trying to figure it out because culture, productivity, some of those things are being impacted. So that allows us to continue to expand our product offering by listening to the customers. We have about 300 products that we sell today. Those are all on our website, but those are the things and the services that we provide now. So now thinking about workplace strategy, change management, as people are thinking about how do we do it? What do we do? Sharing those ideas, whether it's on my LinkedIn or whether we share it via videos or virtual tours when people are walking through the space, then we go to hit the battlefield with them. And then what does and doesn't work, we literally come in and change their spaces again, because business is not a static thing. It's a living, breathing thing. So for us, I can create products and services. So we can come and do the installation, we can come and do the transformation, the workplace strategy, work change management, and all those things allow Vari, the brand, to expand. And hopefully I'll be blessed to build one of the great brands that can live beyond my lifetime. You look at what Schultz has built at Starbucks and the team at Disney and all these great brands and jobs at Apple, like that would be my dream. And so I think for all of us out there, we're trying to build something that can be impactful, make a big difference, and ultimately be a benefit to the world. So that's how I think about the future.
Fantastic. Great conversation. Jason, thank you for joining us today. Jason McCann, he's the CEO of changing the world, disruptive, flexible culture, and just always innovating. Outstanding.
Awesome. Thanks, you guys. Good luck out there. Hit the battlefield. Go for it.
Absolutely. Take good care of yourself. Thank you, Jason.
Thanks, Glenn.
Bye.